I'm 16 tickets remain on the road to the Porsche Esports Supercup, and it's time to see which 8 drivers from the European region advance in 3 weeks' time to the start of the big show. Welcome to the Red Bull Ring, and welcome to the iRacing Esports Network and Porsche's Twitch channel. Arjuna Kangipati alongside of Paul Smith, and with 2 races left in front of us, 2 regions left to go. Lots of intrigue left to be settled. Last week, Paul, we saw 2 regions punch their tickets to the big show at the Porsche Esports Supercup, and now we'll get to see if some former champions join them in the fight to see who's crowned champion at the end of the year.
Yeah, it's going to be intriguing to see how these final couple of races go here tonight. I'm certainly looking forward to this one. Starting off at the Red Bull Ring, it's always going to be exciting, action-packed racing, plenty of slipstreaming, a bit of overtaking opportunities around here. I'm looking forward to this one. And who's going to punch the ticket?
And while we've seen some changes to the Porsche Esports Supercup this year, let's remind ourselves of what we've been looking forward to at the return of this championship.
Welcome to the Porsche Esports Supercup, the virtual one-make series with some of the fastest drivers in the world, where every lap matters and every mistake can end your season. With all drivers in the same car, tackling the same conditions, an exciting format, a brilliant prize, and the chance to make the jump from the virtual track to the real one for a full season. There are 2 ways in: official Porsche National Championships and Global Open Qualifiers, where 4 race weeks will decide who rises, with the fastest drivers advancing. The Regional Championship will be comprised of races across 4 regions. Drivers go head-to-head across multiple rounds, but only the fastest move on. Drivers will compete across 5 full race weekends, but at the end, only 1 driver can claim the title of World Champion, along with the cash prize. From this pool of drivers, a select few will be chosen for the next stage. The talent shootout is not just another test, it is a chance to prove you belong in real-world racing. Here, every corner counts, every decision is judged, and only the driver with the speed, composure, and potential to step into a real race car will stand out. Is that you?
Well, last time out we were racing past the Porsche Experience Centre at Hockenheim, and what a race it was for Alejandro Sanchez, battling with his teammate down into the hairpin at the start of the race, and then held a good solid lead for the rest of the race. There was calamity further down the field as well, with drivers getting spun out and incidents happening. Close action out the hairpin. It's always the same out of that hairpin at the Hockenheim Ring. Into the arena, the 28 of Leo Garibaldi getting turned around further on in the race. Then a little bit of a hip check, a little bit of aggressive action, and well, it was the 26 that goes around, and that caused himself to be out of the race. More side-by-side action, forcing people off the track, and then it was rubbing doors between Lebigra and Collins towards the end of the race. Florian getting the one in the end after they kind of got locked together between the 2 of them. So that was what happened for second place. Further down, it was the Grid and Go cars making moves and making mistakes. Again, down into the hairpin. Little bit of a side touch, bang, bang, and around. But it was 1 driver at the front, Alejandro Sanchez, who won by 3.2 seconds.
And so with 1 final race left to go, the cut line drawn below 8th position. It's 16 points that splits Martin Kadlicic from a spot in the big show. Jerome Fisher, Alessandro Bico, Henry Moore, those are some of the other drivers to keep an eye on today. But realistically, Paul, anyone in that top 8 right now sitting relatively comfortable, with the exception maybe of Lewis Bielica.
Yeah, it's a big enough gap that Bielica just needs to go around, keep out of trouble, and get a result. But that's not how Lewis works there. So, I think he'll be pushing on to just try and get himself fully secured in the championship. What would help him is if he can get himself a good qualifying spot.
Some points obviously on the line when it comes to qualifying. So like you say, that points battle maybe is important. And as we start to talk about some of the storylines here, especially in the European region, I think the sun's getting real low is the way that we've kind of dubbed the first of our storylines. But like you say, for Lewis Bialik to stay out of trouble and it becomes difficult for the rest of the pack, the likes of Martin Kadlecic and Jerome Fisher, to put the pressure on with just this one race at the Red Bull Ring, which maybe does invite some chaos and carnage into the mix.
Yeah, turn 1, turn 2, turn 4, always ones that cause a bit of chaos. But do you know what? Yeah, if you're Bialik, you just stick around and loiter around the drivers that are closest to you, because they're not going to score enough points if they're there or thereabouts with you. So he's got to be canny and play the bigger game here.
Especially when we think about with qualifying maybe going a certain direction. Top 6 could be locked in to the top 8. It kind of feeds into the second of our storylines. Last chance saloon, Paul. And for the likes of Kadlecic, qualifying is going to be important, but in the first of our 30-minute races, starting off and getting the tempo set straight off the drop of the green flag will be crucial as well.
Yeah, getting a good launch, getting yourself out of the trouble zone. You know, in that mid-pack, we've seen how chaotic it can be here in these regional qualifiers, especially in the European region. So you've got to try and keep yourself out of the trouble in the early stages of the race. And the way to do that is to get a good qualifying in. And after qualifying, you could see 6 of your drivers being confirmed as being in that top 8.
And you say danger zone. Well, we look at how things have gone in the 2 regions complete last week, the Americas and the Middle East and Africa regions. Well, 1 point and 4 points, split 8th and 9th. So we're talking very fine margins. And so therefore, with the ever-present eye of race control watching, don't put yourself in trouble. One driver from the Americas region got, 10 points of penalties, but just slipped in by the 4-point threshold. There was other drivers, Paul, who accrued more penalty points over the course of the season and found themselves on the wrong side of the cut line.
Yeah, I'm just looking at my notes here. Talashi was the one who got just into the 8, stayed out of trouble there, but got a 10-point penalty at the end. But it was Moretto missed out because he got 20 points penalties over the season, over this 5-week series. So you've got to keep your nose clean all around here.
We return to a familiar venue for the Porsche Esports Supercup, visited here 2022 through 2024. Sebastian Job's won 2 feature races here, but Paul, talk to us about this unique track.
Yeah, up in the Styrian Mountains in Spielberg. It is a fantastic venue, is this one. Of course, the old Österreich ring used to go straight on at turn number 1, but we cut right, head on through the sweeping turn 2, and then uphill braking into the hairpin at turn 3. A long blast down towards turn 4, which again is another opportunity to overtake. And then you got that twisty sort of inner section of the track before the flying final 2 corners. Track limits, I'm sure you're going to hear me moaning about those at some point today, but yeah, they are a thing here.
You said it first, not me, but I'm going to join you there at some point, I have no doubt. Of note, the last 2 times we visited this track, Alejandro Sanchez was on pole position. We'll see if he can repeat that sort of form, but our Loctite race analysis once again leads us into our 30 minutes a race. Standing start, drop of the clutch is always important. And after this race, the top 8 in the European region advance to the World Championship. It's very much do or die at this point. And with qualifying now officially drawing to a close, all drivers have completed their one and only attempt in the session. Got 3 drivers who failed to abide those crucial track limits 18 times on the board. You can scan that QR code to learn more about the series, including the schedule for the upcoming Porsche Esports Supercup. Starts on September the 19th, Paul. We're only a couple of weeks away.
Yeah, 3 weeks. Get your calendars marked, because it's going to be a busy old time for these drivers as that series starts, and they'll be crunching practice between now and then, those that do get qualified.
Just looking through the last couple of trips here, Charlie Collins qualified on pole back in 2022. But one thing that's always made this place interesting, Paul, was that inverted top 8 for the main race, which has seen Sebastian Job grab 2 feature race wins here. And he's undecently in qualifying as we look to try and see Coanda versus Verstappen sim racing, who enters the big show with some momentum and form on their side.
Well, that's the big question for me, is that battle, that 2-team battle as to who is really going to come out on top, because they want to stamp their authority on the series going into the World Championship in 3 weeks' time.
It's not a long turnaround for these drivers. We've got an iRacing build to look forward to, though, so maybe some things that they'll be looking to keep their eye on. Here's a look, though, at our pole lap, and it is Alejandro Sanchez who makes it another pole here in the Styrian Mountains, climbs up to turn 1, watches the track limits on the left-hand side, and Paul blasts down to turn 3 in this TDK pole on-board lap.
Yeah, so Sanchez getting himself over to the right-hand side, just let the car drift over to the left. Uphill braking here through turn 2, straddle the curb, hit the brakes hard. You can hit them later than you normally would do because of that uphill braking. Use all of the track and then some on corner exit. Cut across this right-hand side just to shorten the track as much as possible, then get it over to the left-hand side for the braking zone. Downhill braking, this is where you might see some mistakes happen during the race. It's tricky to get your braking right through turn number 4. Then through 5, this long sweeping right-hander, but keep the car over to the right, use all the curb, and then hook it in to turn 6 over the curb. Again, you're going to let the car run out wide, almost up to the gravel trap. Turn 7 then. Again, right-hander at left-hander into the right-hander at turn 8, which is flat out in these cars. Over to the left-hand side, up over the rise, he's then going to hit the brakes over the curbing once again as he goes and uses all of the track. Let it run as far wide as the track limits allow you to. Again, through the final corner, so easy to make a mistake through there, but Sanchez is the one at the top.
And for a driver who got pinged for track limits in round 2 of the season at the Circuit Magny Core, had to start all the way back in 23rd, well, he mastered things here today, and it's less than a tenth of a second that sees him grab his first pole of the season. Florian Lebiger, another driver who has started this season on pole, starts to his outside on row number 1. Sebastian Job and Charlie Collins, 2 drivers inside of the cut line, slot in behind with Tristan Iglesias, and then Ganoso Tazdelen, the first driver outside the bubble, looking to fight his way through. Jerome Fisher, keep an eye out for him in the EMM Esports green. Luke McEwen rolls to his outside for Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing. While to complete the top 10, Lewis Bylick, a target on his back, has got Diogo Pinto, former champion of the series, to his outside. Martin Kadlicic, 9th position in points, needs to try and grab some spots on the start behind Bylick. Sees Henry Moore to his outside, while Luca Alper and Roger Christensen split row number 7. Rafael Renhofer and Lucas Camba Marrero, 15th and 16th respectively. And while we see a slightly smaller field this week, Vitaly Yolkin, Will Chadwick see the final 2 times on the board, with Noah Eder, Leo Gariboli, and Olivier Schultz all starting based on championship position. Paul, an interesting look through the grid, and Lewis Bylick right in the heart of, what did you call it? The danger zone.
Yeah, I've been to the danger zone, and it's not fun. I can tell you that now from experience. Right in the middle of the pack there at the start, you've got cars all around you. He's going to be starting on the correct side of the track, though, for him. So he's got that to look forward to at least for him. So he's on the outside. You can make the run around the outside of turn 1, but it does leave you open to people running wide, clipping the inside curb, running wide and turning you. So you've got to be careful through turn 1. And then it's the run up to turn 3, late braking into that with cold tyres and brakes. Could be an interesting start to this one, Arjuna.
Can't believe I'm saying this, but this is Charlie Collins' second worst qualifying of the season as he starts from 4th position, but that's only because he's been on pole 3 times in our 5 races. We talk about form, we talk about momentum, but ultimately that is all temporary. What will matter is in 3 weeks' time, when 8 of these drivers are already on the grid for the start of the 2026 Porsche Esports Supercup. What will happen? Final blast in the European region, and Sebastian Job instantly tries to cover off any move behind Florian Lebiger as we climb to turn 1, and there's some aggression as they slot in. Tazdelen tries to shove Luke McEwen up and over the curb as we now drop down and rise once again. So much elevation here at the Red Bull Ring to play with. But it's heavy on the brakes up to turn 3. It always dares you to go a little bit deeper, and Tazdelen and McEwen bang doors, not once, not twice, but thrice. And on the inside, the Grid&Go car is going to see a spin for Alejandro Sanchez from the front of the field.
Oh, that's high drama for Alejandro. We'll have to get a replay of what's happened to him there. Side by side for the lead now. Lebigra and Job then down into turn number 4. They're teammates, so they don't want to hit each other here, but they also want to keep Charlie Collins behind them. It's a rolling roadblock of Verstappen.com and the Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing team. So this is interesting to watch in these early stages.
Now that Taz Dillon is finally single file in front of not just Luke McEwen, but Jerome Fisher as well. There's a bit of separation that then I'll try and close in, but still wheel to wheel between the teammates, the sister cars, as they drop through the final sector. This is where they're going to eventually have to coordinate and slot in, and it's going to be Lebigra, the Frenchman, that tucks in behind Sebastian Job, 2-time feature winner here at the Red Bull Ring, who crosses the line at the end of lap number 1, but with 28.5 minutes left to go. Up to turn 3, Sanchez was clear. Does he make a mistake, or is he tagged from behind? That's an optimistic lunge up the inside.
I'm going to steal another commentator's line here. That was a day late and a dollar short. That was absolutely awful, was that move. Never on is that move at that point. The lines are always going to converge. You're just asking for trouble there, taking that tighter line from that far back as well. I think the stewards post-event will be having a dim view of that one, personally.
It was Florian Lebigra, the Frenchman, but at this stage, both drivers are relatively comfortable in points. Let's keep an eye out for a recovery drive from Sanchez, who went from 23rd to 15th at Magny Cours. Now there is a traffic jam. We are 3 wide, dropping down out of turn 4, and we just about sorted out Raphael Renhofer in the mix. Noah Eder as well in the grid and go, yellow and blue, but they're playing bumper cars once again. A shove to the back of Lewis Bielica in 13th.
And that's exactly the point I was going to make there, Arjuna. Bielica is in the middle of that. Oh, Sanchez is off in the background. He's had a tangle, I think, with Leo Garibaldi, but we'll have to have that confirmed. But yeah, Bielica's dropped 4 places from where he started in all of this. Now, Kadlacek is in 8th, so it's not enough really at the moment, but this is the last thing that Bielica needs to be. Oh, it was an innocent party, was Leo Garibaldi and all of that.
That's a little clumsy from Sanchez, who's maybe driving a bit angry. Off the road there for Charlie Collins as he hunts down Lebigra out of turn 1. Now, just doing the rough math, I'm going to have to go and actually get a calculator out. Kadlacek and Bielica, it's a little bit closer than we would have thought. Collins shows himself to the inside. Lebigra's got no choice, has to open up the steering, and that's a great pass from Collins, who now pulls to the side, tries to avoid the side draft, and runs down to the next braking zone.
It's purple and orange versus dark blue and red. That's a very familiar sight to see in the world of sim racing. But nice defence then from Charlie Collins to hold on to that. Lebigra is trying his best just to keep focus and keep moving forward. The thing is, yeah, they're fighting hard. I mean, we saw these two playing bumper cars with each other down into the hairpin at Hockenheim. So there's a bit of previous between these two. Nothing like serious, nothing egregious, but there's a bit of previous there, and there could be a bit of excitement.
There's always a bit of drama at this level. These drivers are separated by such fine margins that any small infraction is often viewed as a much more significant. Rise up to turn 1. Look at track limits extension. I would guess that's apparently valid, but we're definitely getting away with one there, I think, by your and my measure, Paul.
It should be a drive-through penalty mandatory for taking that wider line into turn 1. It is ridiculous, the line that they are taking there. I'm sorry, but that is a joke, what they're doing right there. You're not driving within the regulations. Yeah. I'll stop myself now, because I am the arbiter of strict track limits. Everybody knows this, but that's just not on, in my opinion.
It looks a little bit weird, that is for sure. Jerome Fisher, he's one of those drivers on the bubble, and by my rough math, Paul, 8th to 13th, by the points being paid out right now, is a 10-point difference between Kadlacek and Bielica. So it is a little bit closer than I think Luis would want right now. They entered the day with close to 20 points separating them. With that poor start for Luis, 24 minutes to go, there's some ground he's got to claw back.
And don't forget, Fisher's in 6th place as well in all of that, and he was the driver who was 16 points back. Now, Bielica has moved up to 12th place, so he has gained a place back in all of this. So the shenanigans that were happening in the mid-pack, I did say it, didn't I? That it's being in that pack, you get involved and you can end up losing ground in all of this. So, yeah, Bielica will be a little bit worried right now as Fisher is up there in 6th place, got moving further down. That's Marrero making moves, but he's made the move there up to 17th for them.
Slightly smaller field, 21 cars now down to 20 here today. Will Chadwick's been in pit lane for about 2 minutes and counting. Still plenty of battling up and down through the field. Exiting out of the top of the hill, it's Luca Alpert with those bright pink wheels alongside of Luke McEwen, who really got slightly bullied on the start and now fighting his way back into the top 10 in the Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing number 11. Slots his way on the inside through, and McEwen, who comes into this with a best finish of 2nd this season, 5th in points. Ultimately, Paul, just have to make yourself part of the top 8. We're not really looking too much at where you finished, but I do go back to the point on form and momentum. Luke is someone who I think you and I will definitely think of as a championship contender in 3 weeks' time.
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt. He is that good. The problem for him, though, is the fact that you look at his teammates. You got Diogo Pinto, former champion. You got Sebastian Job, former 2-time champion. We're going to see him later, Cooper Webster, who's the current reigning champion. He's got quite a stacked team there to go up against, but we do... Luke McEwen, the first time that I saw him a few years ago, immediately you could see there's talent there, and I'm not surprised to find him at this at the Verstappen.com team.
Talent as well for Jerome Fisher, the young 15-year-old who tries the up and under on Ganoso Tasdellen. Started this race off well, did the grid and go car, but starting to struggle. Good traction from the green EMM machine for Fisher as we drop down into Schlossgold, but got to be careful. He tried the squeeze on Tasdellen there a bit too aggressively. He's pinched onto the inside curb and slots his way through up to 5th.
This is important. For me, this is important what Fisher's doing right now. Going on the defensive. Now, the problem is he can't just start defending fresh air. He's got to defend when he needs to defend, and not just defend fresh air, else he'll slow himself down and Tasdellen down too much. And already there's a bit of a gap between them and Tristan Iglesias in 4th place. So they've got to be careful and canny with all this.
Heading towards the halfway mark, almost 10 minutes complete. It's another part of the track where track limits, you got to be careful. Pushing out wide, always so easy to carry a bit too much momentum. Drivers being wise in this middle part of the race to maybe ration track limits. That's something that all sim racers are wise to. Making sure you've got some left in reserve at the end of the race to fight. Separating at the front though, Joe, Collins, Labigra, Iglesias, about 2nd or so between all of them. And then Fisher, who last time by was amongst the fastest drivers on track with the exception of the top 2.
Yeah, so he's got pace there. He really has. The problem is he's left it a little bit late, hasn't he, with these sorts of performances. You want to have those performances earlier on in the season to give you that buffer, like you see with Job, Collins, Labigra, et al. You know, those drivers who were in that top 6, they were comfortable there, and that's all because of their performances at the start of the season. It's a very different style of racing, is this type of event, because it's all about just being in that top 8. It doesn't matter about winning, just being in the top 8. That's all you need here in all of this. So yeah, it's intriguing to watch and see the different style of driving.
Just got a points update from our production team behind the scenes. As it runs right now, it's 7 points. that Lewis Bielica is in front of Jerome Fisher. That is a slender margin, and Bielica will not be comfortable by any means. He's up to 12th on his own. 19 minutes to go to hold on to that spot in the World Championship. And as it runs right now, I don't think we're surprised to say this, Paul, but even with Alejandro Sanchez running 19th, still inside of the top 7.
Yeah, that performance at Hockenheim last week really helped him secure that place in the top 8 for Sanchez. So yeah, he'll be disappointed with where he is right now, and he won't be happy with what happened as Pinto making the move around the outside into 4. You can make this move because you get on the power slightly earlier. The problem is the inside car has got the inside line all the way through this, but if you can keep alongside like Pinto is doing now, that gives you the inside for the next 2 corners. Lovely move there from Diogo.
It's not quite done. Taz Dillon wanted to try and cut back himself, but Pinto carries just enough speed, and the Portuguese driver will hold on. Taz Dillon, though, is struggling. No question in my mind. Pulls Istanbul his hoe. Gives a shot to Pinto as they get onto the brakes through the penultimate corner. One thing that I will note as we now end lap 8 of this race, onto the 9th lap of round 5 in the regional championships, the Porsche Esports Supercup, Charlie Collins has just set his first valid lap time of the race. So Sebastian Jobe has yet to set a valid lap time. That's a big moment, though, for Taz Dillon, as out of turn 1, here's the chance for Kadlecic.
Yeah, Kadlecic is needing to make some moves forward to give himself any hope of getting involved in the PESC World Championship. Around the outside of 3, hold it there, you can do it. But the problem is Pinto now is going to give the slipstream to Taz Dillon down towards turn number 4. So this is where you can make a fight back. But I think Taz Dillon's just maybe worked his tyres a little bit hard at the start of this race. We've heard drivers say they've got to be careful and work the tyres. Oh, thank you very much. Who's that coming through? It's McEwen and Henry Moore that are coming through in all of this.
Taking advantage into the middle sector as we continue descending in elevation. That was always, I think, bound to happen. Taz Dillon struggling for grip, and Kadlecic, he'll argue that all the time you must leave a space, as an F1 World Champion has argued in the past, but doesn't always mean you're going to be given the space, and that's sometimes so difficult about racing, is understanding when to push the issue. And Kadlecic, from fighting for 7th, now back into 10th. And this gives Bielica some breathing room on one of his competitors. Jerome Fisher starting to close very slowly on Tristan Iglesias. The problem is, at least if you're a fan of Jerome Fisher, is there's limited positions to work your way forward now, Paul. Taz Dillon still under fire. Here comes Henry Moore.
Henry Moore's got a slow down penalty, though. He went too far wide through turn 1 and played with fire and got burnt. Look at that. Switch back, one then the other. Kadlecic to the inside. Not going to get the run out the corner, though, so the McEwen is going to stay there. Luke McEwen, it's very much unlike him to be down here, and this is on pace as well. He's just not really had the pace around here today. Maybe
also a limited amount of practice for him in that Oracle Red Bull sim racing car, but parks it on the apex, allows him to slide wide, and some tension. You can feel it for Kadlecic in the Hymo Racing by EMM, the pink number 13. He's calm for the time being, realizes that there's still 15 minutes, 20 seconds left on that clock, and that anything can happen. That's sometimes the hardest thing to do in these situations. Stay calm, and let the race come to you. Maybe set something up out of turn 1 once again, Paul, and try a move on Luke McEwen once more.
Personally, I would have said that's more of a purple than a pink, but there we go. Through the final corner, carry the speed, easy to get off tracks there as well. My timing software, by the way, it has what the state is of the driver, and it says retired for Will Chadwick, and then it keep on just flashing up, out, all the way down the field with drivers going off track here. So using and abusing those instant points. The problem is All it takes is a contact, get yourself 4 instant points, you could be heading down pit road for a drive-through penalty.
Especially at a track like this where it's so easy to run wide. Sebastian Jobe has finally set a valid lap time, by the way. It is the fastest one. That has been punched in today's race, and the 2-time main race winner here is looking good. 1.5 seconds clear of Charlie Collins with half of this race complete. On the cut line, though, the fight to be in the top 8. Martin Kadlicic has got some work to do. Henry Moore, Luca Alpert running behind. Raphael Renhoff, Noah Eder as well. Then some breathing room, but this is very much a track where you don't get much separation, Paul, and first through 14th, split by 11 seconds.
Yeah, it's incredible how close this field is. And we said that at the start of this European regional qualifiers that it was a World Championship quality field in this European split. So for only 8 drivers to make it out of this European qualifiers just shows the high standard that they've been working to, as Sanchez trying to work his way back through. Yolkin is fighting this one and not giving it up at all, giving it absolutely everything, but Sanchez finally makes that move done.
Kudos to Alejandro as well. It would have been very easy for him, somewhat comfortable in points, to have pulled it to the side of the track and called it a day, but no. Any opportunity you can race wheel to wheel is a learning opportunity, and that's exactly what Alejandro is doing here. His teammate, by the way, Tristan Iglesias, is one of the few drivers in the top 4, putting some pressure on. That fight for third, Paul, is by no means done, and Florian Lebigra, who we've talked about so positively this season, 3 podium finishes, a pole as well in round number 3. It just feels as though Tristan Iglesias right now could just be a little bit quicker, struggling to find a way through.
Yeah, the young Spaniard focusing forward, looking to try and make some moves. Good news is he's made his bed, so that's really good news behind him. But down towards turn number 1, 12 minutes remaining. He doesn't need to do any sort of silly moves. This is the thing. This is where you've almost got to drive within yourself and only make a move if it's definitely on in an event like this, because you don't want to end up with penalty points. Okay, Tristan's going to be pretty much in qualifying, but you just don't want to risk it at all.
And for Tristan Iglesias, who's looking to try and get back into the Porsche Esports Supercup ranks, a driver that before he joined Coanda Esports made a name for himself as a bit of an ace in the Porsche GT3 car. He used to run as part of that Signify Esports lineup, qualified for many a special event and an endurance league race towards the front of the field, often in fields where the Porsche wasn't necessarily the preferred car of choice. So when he got the opportunity to join up with Coanda, took it with both arms and has really continued to grow. Struggling to close by all accounts. Jerome Fisher, except on the last lap where he gained about 0.3 of a second, has not really closed as well. And so in the fight for 8th in points, the final driver who will advance into the Porsche Esports Supercup, Lewis Bielica, still down there in 12th position. But by maths and by all indications, Paul in a good spot. There's contact. Luca Alpert and Lewis Bielica. That could be what race control needs to take a look as well.
Alpert's got a slow down penalty as well from going that far wide, so he'll be mad that he'll be saying that Bielica pushed me there. Side to side through the penultimate corner, very difficult to go side by side through that penultimate corner there, because the corner, you almost sort of understeer through there. The car always wants to go out to the outside of the track at that point. So it is Alpert is the one who loses out in all of that, and Raphael Renhofer is now the one looking forward at Bielica. But yeah, you're absolutely right, that could be absolutely crucial in terms of that top 8 securing that spot.
It means that we won't necessarily know who advances when we finish this race. There will be some post-race review that needs to take place. Tasdellin and McEwen still battling it out for 7th position, now a full 3 seconds adrift of those in front. There's the look Bielica was up the inside, trying to close the door as Luca Alpert. And Paul, what's your view?
I think it's a bit late on the defence there, personally, as we're going absolutely neck and neck into the gravel there. Oh, the grid and go-car all sorts out of shape. And, well, it's Kadlecik who's trying to come through in all of this. He wants to try and gain those spots, and he's gained one.
Remember, trying to slip back through. He's left on the wrong side of the track potentially here if he's forced wide, but carries that momentum, and that was a bold pass. And now Ride with Taz Dillon on the bottom of your screen is popping alongside. Here comes Henry Moore, the young Brit, the 18-year-old for Team Bennett. Clears into turn one. Some good racing there, but Taz Dillon has dropped from 7th to 10th, and maybe not enough tyre left underneath him to fight back up towards turn 3 with 8.5 minutes left to go. It's closed at the front of the field. Charlie Collins now less than a second or so away from Sebastian Jobe, and maybe more importantly, Jerome Fisher now 1.5 seconds back from Tristan Iglesias. He's lost ground in his fight forward.
Yeah, he's just been, well, yeah, when you say that, his last lap was actually his fastest lap for Fisher. So he is pushing, and he's still trying hard to move forward, but it's just a little too late. And this is where it goes back to me saying you need that form in the early stages of the series to get yourself those big points to start with, to give you that comfortable spot so that you can have an off day. I mean, look at Sanchez. He's had, out of this 5-week series, 2 weeks where things have gone wrong for him. Once at Manicourt, once here. He's still going to qualify because he's got good results in the rest of the series. He can't leave it until the last week, unfortunately.
Yeah, 3rd, 4th and 1st for Sanchez outside of the 15th. For Jerome Fisher, 19th in the first round, and then 5th, 9th and 9th, which is not bad results, you would argue, but it's maybe not quite enough to give yourself that buffer, and that's exactly what he does not have right now. Time continues to tick away. 3.5 seconds, the gap in front of Luke McEwen, who leads this train that we've been keeping our eyes on. Most importantly, includes Martin Kadlecik, the other driver for whom there is still a glimpse of light at the end of the tunnel, but slowly fading away as Lewis Bielica still sits in 11th position. But if you're just joining us, Bielica's had some contact, and while I think Paul and I maybe are thinking might not be worthy of some race control penalty points, you never know, and we never envy the task that race control has in front of them. I mean, how many times have I had it that I've been absolutely convinced that the stewards are going to give a decision one way and then they go entirely the other way? It's you never second guess stewards, is what I've discovered through my many years of commentating on sim racing. And yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting to see. It'll be a worrying time, I think, but I think with Bielica being in that position right now and Fisher being 5th, he'll be a bit more confident, but he still won't be comfortable. And if it is a 10-point penalty, there is still enough time, I would say, for Bielica to pass Taz Dillon, maybe give himself the buffer he needs. So it could end up being a bit of a moot point. Diogo Pinto is also catching Jerome Fisher, so that could make life a bit easier as well. As the seconds tick away, Sebastian Jobe does look like he's comfortable, though, in his fight with Charlie Collins. Up to turn 3. Iglesias not close enough to have a lunge up the inside. But these are two drivers who are pretty much comfortable, not necessarily expecting a move between the two of them.
Yeah, it's, as I say, he doesn't need to do anything rash. Tristan Iglesias, he just needs to be in the right place at the right time and take advantage of any mistake. You try and force a mistake out of Florian Lebigra. The problem with that is trying to force a mistake out of Florian Lebigra. He's somebody who's very metronomic, who rarely makes mistakes. So you really need to keep the pressure absolutely hammered and be almost sucking in his exhaust gases in how close you'd need to be in terms of the pressure.
And I'm sure the likes of Luke Pennington, Matt Backham, some of the engineers at Coanda will be telling these drivers on the radio, look, you don't need to make your moves right now. Save your moves for in 3 weeks' time when we start the 2026 Porsche Esports Supercup. Should be an exciting season. And not much turnaround time for these competitors by any means as well. So full focus for the 8 drivers that move forward, and for everyone else, a slow wait until the next qualifying season. Has Jerome Fisher picked up a slowdown, Paul? He has lost a whole bunch of speed out of turn 1.
He's pulling over. That he's not got a slow down penalty. Has he got a hardware issue? Don't say after all this he's... Oh no. Oh, and then he's made contact. That's no header.
Definitely not the intent for Jerome. You can see the frustration. Something is not quite right there for the EMM Esports number 15. And you can feel the heartbreak from here.
I tell you what an effort it was from Jerome, from Fisher to get himself up into that sort of position and to be pushing the top 4 in terms of pace as well. But yeah, that's absolute heartbreak, and I think Lewis Bielica now can breathe easier.
He's back up to speed, so whatever it was, it's temporary, but
I wonder if he's had like a screen go black or something's happened, and because when you have that happen, because I've had it happen in the past myself driving, you just back off. If you know where you are on the track, you can roughly guess where you are on track, and so you just back off, get out the way, and just hope that it comes back onto screen. But yeah, that's a shame.
I think it means for Lewis Bielica some comfort now in these final laps, knowing that pendulum swinging back in his direction. Tristan Iglesias running out of time to hunt down Florian Lebigra. But now the pair of grid and go cars, Noah Eder, great car control to hold on. His teammate Roger Christensen has Fisher tucked in behind. And then the recovering Alejandro Sanchez. Here he comes on the hunt and dropping down to turn 5.
Giving it a push. We've been getting some updates, by the way, from our production team, and I tell you what, Bielica, it's not entirely safe if stewards don't find it his way. To be honest, I would think if he ended up with a 10-point penalty for that issue into the penultimate corner, I think that would be harsh in my opinion, but there you go. As I said before, I'm not a steward, so I don't have a say.
Again, his Coanda team manager will tell him, look, 10 points right now on the provisional points. Go and try and steal a spot away from the struggling Ganoso Tasdel. And we will be on to the penultimate lap of the race for these competitors. It will be the last lap next time by. And Alejandro Sanchez, I get the feeling we may end up talking to him after this race is complete. If he makes a couple more moves on these next couple of trips around, opens up turn 1. See the speed as he shoots off the exit curve.
Off of the exit curb and the runoff as well. Out of that one, but that's it. He's obviously tactically saved himself some off-track, some instant points to be able to strategically go off track at certain points. Because the thing is, those drivers go. If you're able to use an off-track and run out wide out of turn 1, you can carry so much more speed. It's a big advantage for you to have up towards turn 3, and we had that demonstration right there with Sanchez.
Just looking through some of the results in years past, there have been races, by the way, where quick drivers like Jordan Caruso have not set valid lap times in 10-lap races here at the Red Bull Ring. Such is the games that get played with track limits. And with 1 lap left to go, Sebastian Job is feeling a bit of heat as Charlie Collins ratchets up the tempo. 1 lap left in the European Regional Championships of the Porsche Esports Supercup. And look at Charlie Collins, maximum attack, both on entry and on exit.
Yeah, and you see, he's saved those instant points there. He's playing the game right here. He's got the run. I'm feeling Sebastian Job will see very dimly about that. As onto the brakes, they're rubbing door handles. Fantastic stuff, and Job able to hold on to it. He'll feel vindicated being able to hold on to that place for now.
Yeah, that last little bit of contact just shoved Charlie Collins off the apex of the corner, open up the margin just a little bit. And there'll be some questions asked about the track limits, but again, that's all within how the track limits are governed. We're not necessarily fans of it, but Charlie Collins is playing the track limits game. It's a couple of chances left here, but really, Sebastian Jobe, if he can drive off the exit of the next corner, should be good.
Yeah, Jobe's got enough of a gap here, in my opinion, to hold on to that lead. I think Collins, that was his best chance to try and make that move, but Jobe wonderfully and masterfully used his experience, squeezed Collins, and he'll hold on to get a win.
Well, the last time we came here, Sebastian Jobe was a feature race winner in 2024, and on the road to the 2026 Porsche Esports Supercup, Sebastian Jobe is back in victory lane once again. But a muted celebration. Part one of the job is done. Time to go recapture the throne for the third time. Collins holds him tight, rest of the field strings the way to the line. And importantly, Lewis Bielica does not get in front of Ganoso Tazdelin. And if our provisional points are right, it's 10 points that splits Martin Kadlicic and Lewis Bielica for 8th position in the regional championships. And now with bated breath, we wait for the post-race steward report.
Gotta love racing at the top level as we look at our Mobile One winning moment, as our winning driver decides that they've had enough and are taking a quick break. But the Trellix move of the race, it's Luke McEwen down the inside into 6, holds it on the inside then into turn 7 and around the outside of 8. It was a great move, forced a little mistake from Tazdelin, and good stuff from Luke McEwen there.
A little bit of gravel being kicked up also slowed the momentum down of the Turkish driver, allowing Martin Kadlicic to pop to the outside. McEwen doing a good job to hold station and fire it down the final corner and cross the line in 7th position. And what a rumble it was for 7th on back. Ended up being 6th at the line after the issues for Jerome Fisher. But Sebastian Jobe on top to close out this European Regional Championship and making it a fourth different winner in 5 races. Collins, Labigra, Iglesias, Pinto, the top 5, with McEwen, Kadlicic, Moore, Tazdelin, and then Lewis Bielica, a nervous 10th position, and waiting to hear what race control has to say. Rafael Renhofer, Luca Alper, and then Noah Eder, just in front of the chargeback for Alejandro Sanchez, with Fisher slotting into 15th spot. Roger Christensen, Lucas Cammarero, and then Olivier Schultz, Vitaly Yolkin, and Leo Gariboli. That's your top 20, with Will Chadwick, the only DNF, only completing a handful of laps at the start of this race. I'm sure a couple of the drivers already hoping to dive into their post-race debrief, but before then, we're going to route them past Paul Smith. And I think standing by first, I don't see our race winner, Sebastian Jobe. Might actually just be ready for Paul right about now, down there in victory lane.
Yes, Sebastian, well, it's great to speak to you again. You got the win, but qualified second row. Just talk us through that, because it looked a bit chaotic on that one.
Yeah, I got lucky, basically. I mean, I was really frustrated after quali, and I hadn't won a race this season, so I was just wanting to end on a good note. So I was planning to be a bit racy anyway. But yeah, I got lucky. Just slid into P1 and then just tried to hold on till the end, as it was a bit close on off tracks. So had to be a bit more careful than I liked on the last lap, which led to having a battle, because I got a few silly off tracks early on, so I couldn't use them. But good to end on a win.
It's great momentum that you can then take forward in 3 weeks' time into the World Championship. Just how important is it to have good results in this series to then go into a World Championship?
It helps. I mean, for example, Florian and Charlie, I think, were tied on points going into this round, but I don't think Florian was that bothered if he won it or not, because the main thing is that you obviously he's not going to say no, but it wasn't super bothered. And I wouldn't be either, because it's more about how you perform in those races. There's no prize for winning this qualifier, but to have good performances that give you confidence makes a big difference. So that's why I really wanted a good final round, because I didn't perform very well in the previous rounds. So I think that's more important than actually just, I came first or second.
Well, it's great form to take forward into the World Championship, and hope to see you there in 3 weeks' time. Sebastian Job, thank you very much.
Cheers, Paul.
There we go. That's our race winner, Sebastian Job, joining us there. Next on the in the interview room is going to be Luke McEwen. And Luke, I think it's fair to say you won't have been happy with qualifying in 8th and getting involved in all the midfield battling. Is that fair to say?
It was quite fun, I guess. Considering that me personally is basically through already, so there was no pressure on having to get a result. So I didn't mind. Obviously you don't want to qualify 8th, you want to qualify first and win the race. But we learn a few things. That's all you need to really do. And it was good fun. So even though it was a bit crazy, but yeah.
Well, that's it. It's how difficult is it? That you were pretty much secure in that top 8. How difficult is it to temper your efforts in not picking up penalties that can maybe put you in danger of accumulating some penalty points?
Obviously you don't want to do anything too stupid, like you say, to get any penalties. So I didn't go for any crazy moves. I just tried to pick people off and yeah.
Well, we'll let you get off, but well done on getting yourselves through into the World Championship.
Thank you.
There we go. Luke McEwen then finished himself in 6th place, and joining us in the commentary booth right now is Alejandro Sanchez. Thank you very much for joining us, Alex. And I think it's fair to say that there was several swear words in Spanish said after turn 3.
No, they were in English, so it's all good. I'm bilingual now.
Unfortunately, it wasn't the only instant that you were involved. Just how, when you have a bad day in a series like this, when the competition is so close, you have a really bad day, don't you?
Yeah, when it all goes bad, it goes really bad, as you can see, but still. At the end of the day, I'm still qualified, so that's it. I got pole. I'm happy with that. Things in my control were handled well. But yeah, whatever. They were well handled, and yeah, on to the World Championship. We'll see. I take some notes from this race, obviously, and yeah, move on.
And that's the crucial thing. Take what you can learn from these events and see what you can take into the World Championship. Just finally, 3 weeks' time. It's not a lot of time to prepare. I'm sure you guys are going to be flat out with that, aren't you now?
Yeah, pretty much from tomorrow onwards. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing you there. Congratulations on qualifying through, Alejandro.
Thank you.
There you go, Arjuna, and different reactions from our drivers there.
I've got to say, always love a chat with Alejandro Sanchez. Made me bellow with laughter with that first answer as well. This is what the points look like, though, provisionally. Collins and Lebigra end tied on 233 points, but that really does not matter. What really matters is Lewis Bilica 10 points in front of Martin Kadlicic, and now a nervous wait to see if race control deems anything worthy of any penalty points. But I think, at least provisionally, Lewis Bilica, one hand on his license for the Porsche Esports Supercup, can start to look forward. However, it's alongside of the 16 other drivers from the Americas region and from the Middle East and Africa, and some big names, the likes of Mitchell de Jong in particular, Gustavo Ariel, two of the big ones from America that stands out to me, Paul. Field starting to get filled in. Just 8 more names for us to figure out in Asia Pacific.
Yeah, down to the final 8 to see who qualifies. This is going to be really interesting to see. Close margins here in the Asia Pacific region, but I think that personally Patrick Castle's going to be a good one to watch in the World Championship going forward.
There's 8 more drivers left now to punch their ticket into the Porsche Esports Super Cup, and we'll leave the Red Bull Ring and head to Phillip Island to figure out which 8 drivers line up in 3 weeks' time to start the 2026 Porsche Esports Super Cup from the Asia Pacific region. Don't go anywhere.
Experience the world's most legendary racing events with iRacing. iRacing special events allow any member to compete in full-length multiplayer races based on some of the biggest events in motorsports all year round. Compete in virtual endurance races such as the Daytona 24, Spa 24, and the Nürburgring 24 Hours. Take on some of the toughest races on the NASCAR schedule, such as the Daytona 500. We have events from disciplines all across the racing world, from the Indianapolis 500 to the Chili Bowl, from the Bathurst 1000 to the Crandon Championship. Our endurance special events utilize iRacing's team feature, where members can sign up and race together on their own team, swapping drivers throughout the race. Other events utilize iRacing Super Sessions, where you're not only racing against those on track, but against every driver taking part. And as every race progresses, watch and feel the track change with progressive time of day, dynamic weather and rain, and dynamic track debris and surface changes. Take on your favorite discipline or try a brand new racing challenge with our biggest races of the year, the iRacing Special Events. Learn more at iracing.com/special-events.
More tickets to punch to the 2026 Porsche Esports Super Cup. And here in the Asia Pacific region, while 7 drivers are looking for a ticket, 1 driver is looking for the clean sweep of the region, as Dane Warren looks to try and make it 5 from 5 here at Phillip Island. One of my favorite tracks in the world, and maybe more known for two-wheel racing, but it's going to prove to be a treat for our Porsche race cars here in the final round of our regional championship pool. 3 other regions have taken center stage. Asia Pacific gets the light last.
Yeah, save the best till last, isn't that the saying? Certainly, it's been some really good racing in this series. Okay, maybe not right at the very front of the races, but there's been some great battles having throughout the field. And yeah, top 8 again. It's all about being in that top 8.
New format for the Porsche Esports Supercup here in 2026. Let's dive into what we've seen and what we're expecting for the rest of the year.
Welcome to the Porsche Esports Supercup, the virtual one-make series with some of the fastest drivers in the world, where every lap matters and every mistake can end your season. With all drivers in the same car, tackling the same conditions, an exciting format, a brilliant prize, and the chance to make the jump from the virtual track to the real one for a full season. There are 2 ways in: official Porsche National Championships and Global Open Qualifiers, where 4 race weeks will decide who rises, with the fastest drivers advancing. The Regional Championship will be comprised of races across 4 regions. Drivers go head-to-head across multiple rounds, but only the fastest move on. Drivers will compete across 5 full race weekends, but at the end, only one driver can claim the title of World Champion, along with the cash prize. From this pool of drivers, a select few will be chosen for the next stage. The talent shootout is not just another test, it is a chance to prove you belong in real-world racing. Here, every corner counts, every decision is judged, and only the driver with the speed, composure, and potential to step into a real race car will stand out. Is that you?
Well, last time out at Okayama, a track that all the drivers know very well, it was a great launch from the front of the field for Dane Warren over Cooper Webster. The rest of them headed down into turn number 1. It was the hairpin that gave us the most of the excitement. Some big lunges being made in the opening laps of the race as drivers tried to sort themselves out in the early going. Well, as we went through, it was Byron Pierce who was making moves forward. Along with the 18, Cody Deeth lunged down into the hairpin, and that allowed Heath to get ahead of Hudson Hughes momentarily before Hughes came back. But it was the cutback. That was what he was trying to get then on the exit. The left-handers not quite working out that time. So, wind a couple of laps later, and Cody Deeth does it again. And this time, holds on to the place ahead of Hudson Hughes. So it definitely is a good place to overtake there, but Deeth was being put under pressure all the way through the following laps. But it's the man at the front, Dane Warren, who has taken 4 wins out of 4 pole positions as well and leads the championship.
Not the biggest of margins, though, to Cooper Webster, who still kept himself close, but 14 points between Charlie Jamieson, Eric Shaw, and Josh Zhang. That's the margin that we are keeping our eyes on here. Hudson Hughes, Xavier Kane, Cody Deeth. You'd argue those drivers all find themselves in a good position, while Hugo Allen and above mathematically find themselves locked in to the Porsche Esports Super Cup. That's the points update as we head into this final round of the championship. And much like we were talking about with the European region, had to have that one spring back into my mind. Very similar situation for some of our drivers as we start to dive into the storylines. However, for the first driver in points, Dane Warren, can he be perfect in what has been a championship in which he's not had it necessarily all to play for himself? Dane Warren and Cooper Webster are 2 of the finest that this region has produced, but can Dane Warren try and make it a perfect qualifying season?
He didn't sound too bothered most of the races, did he, when we've spoken to him about his runs? But I asked him last week, I said, you know, you've won 4 out of 4, you've got to go for a perfect run now, and he's given himself that goal. He's shown the talent, he's shown the run that he's been on. He's just been absolutely imperious at the front, and I think he could be on for 5 out of 5.
have to wait and see. Qualifying might be important here at Phillip Island, with passing maybe a bit harder than some of the tracks we've been to. But while we look at the Coanders, the Verstappen Sim Racings at the top of the championship standings, we should remember some of the other teams, the likes of the Auto Moves Racing. Don't forget about those newer teams who are going to be welcomed into the Super Cup ranks in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, Falcon as well, the Falcon Esports team, as well as Auto Moves, getting themselves involved and locked into the series. First time that those teams are going to be involved in the Esports Super Cup. I'm excited. I always like to see new talent and new teams come onto the block and see what they can bring. Can they do something different that the big boys are maybe not doing, and maybe catch a surprise or two?
And we always know that there's strength in numbers for those big teams. So for these smaller teams, it's an opportunity to get a couple more faces maybe in from this Asia Pacific region in particular. Last but not least, in terms of storylines, we talked about it with Lewis Bielica. Stay out of race control's purview because someone's always watching, and there's now a bit of contact that looms large coming out of that European region race. 14 points between Charlie Jameson and Eric Shaw and Josh Zhang trying to hunt him down. Not a big margin. That could be the difference between race control giving you a penalty versus staying out of trouble.
Yeah, Charlie Jameson's been a little bit off these last couple of weeks in terms of the series. I think back to Adelaide as well. He wasn't happy with how he performed there. And last week he was a bit down the order compared to how he has been. Get yourself a penalty and lose some points that way. That can have a big effect. So yeah, Charlie Jameson's going to have one eye on getting a good result, but another eye on not getting penalties either.
Let's dive into our TDK track analysis. They've been racing at Phillip Island since 1940, but this modern circuit since 1978. And Paul, I said it's one of my favorites, more known though for two-wheel racing.
Yeah, World Superbikes, Australian Motorcycle GP as well is hosted here. Counterclockwise track, so drivers have to deal with that. Of course, we're in Victoria in Australia. It's a 2.7 mile track, 12 turns. Long sweeping turns is the big talking point of it. Turn 1 into 2 can always cause a little bit of calamity at the start of a race, and it's a track that a lot of the drivers love. I particularly love this track. I had my closest ever iRacing finish here at this track.
It's a track where I do think passing could be possible, but also could be at a premium. Loctite race analysis, not much has changed over the 5 weeks of regional championships. 30 minutes of racing, standing starts with no pit stops planned, and the top 8 drivers advance into the Porsche Esports Super Cup, where one driver will get a chance to go from virtual to reality, courtesy of Porsche Motorsports. There's a lot on the line as we get into the business of qualifying. Final moments, just waiting for a couple more drivers to punch their tickets onto the board. And so never a better time to remind you that new memberships are 30% off. Every day is race day. Scan the QR code on your screen to learn more about iRacing. The Porsche Esports Super Cup always starts with a global open qualifying phase, open to anyone with an iRacing account. So make sure you're in position for next year's 2027 Road to the World Championship. Always exciting when we head into these qualifying phases. The pressure piles on, and once the dust is settled, 32 drivers remain to fight for the prestigious title. And what a qualifying season has been, starting with those open qualifiers to these regional championships, and now one final race, Paul.
Yeah, it all comes down to Phillip Island and the challenge that these drivers will face. And you absolutely called it right there, Arjuna, that there is going to be an issue in terms of passing being at a premium. One of those drivers who's going to be harmed by that is going to be Charlie Jameson. We'll confirm his qualifying spot in a moment's time, but I can tell you that there are 2 drivers who have not set qualifying times out there. Track limits, I'm pleased to say, will not be a talking point around here because it's an old school track. You've got grass, you've got gravel. You go off track here, you know about it. That's for sure.
I was just actually messaging with Charlie Collins about the action we saw in the last round of the championship. couple of things that he was letting me know about how they were maximizing their performance out on track, which is always the goal of these teams. About 20 seconds, we'll take a look at the pole lap onboard brought to you by TDK. And is there any surprise? He said it was his goal to make it a perfect season. He's gone half the way there this weekend. Dane Warren on pole, and by a big margin this time. Last time it was 16 thousandths or something like that between him and Cooper Webster. 0.2 of a second. Dane Warren slaps his authority on the field.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that pole lap. It's a spectacular lap around here. Not the longest of tracks as well. It's high speed, long radius corners, which suits the motorbike riders very well around here. As we'll take you onto the onboard lap in just a few moments. There we go. So heading down turn 1, use all of the curb on entry. Just down one gear then through turn 1, and this is a tricky corner, is turn 2. Southern Loop, you don't know which line to really take through there. Dane, he hugs the corner on the inside, lets it roll outside through Stoner Corner, then through the left-hander, keep it over to the left-hand side then for the hairpin. Down the gears, get the car to the apex, and then onto the loud pedal. Get over to the right-hand side for Siberia then. It's slightly understeery through this corner as you go uphill on the exit, so you've got to be careful with that one. Through 7 and then 8, absolutely flat out through here. Use the curb. And then through 9, looky here, heights, you're going to be slowing down as you're turning. Now, if these cars didn't have ABS, you'd be locking tyres. And then big downhill braking zone into turn 10. Hug the apex through the hairpin. Be patient with the throttle through 11. Get on the loud pedal all the way then towards turn 12. Ever so slight lift of the throttle there, but not much at all. And Dane Warren keeps it over to the right-hand side for the shortest run to the line. And that's your TDK full lap.
Makes it look easy, doesn't he? There's a reason why he's a former Porsche Esports Coanda Racing team driver. And on the front row, on pole position for the 5th time in the Asia-Pacific region. Cooper Webster alongside for the 5th time this season as well as the defending Porsche Esports Supercup champion, while Zach Radare-White, one of his best qualifying efforts this season, slots in alongside of Xavier Kane, who is one of the drivers inside the cut line right now. Damon Woods and Cody Deef. It's all Falcon Sim Racing on row 3 with Eric Shaw and Josh Zhang. 2 of those drivers trying to fight their way in, fighting from row 4. Hugo Allen and Hudson Hughes bookend the top 10, and just in front of Charlie Jamieson, 8th in points and the final driver inside of the cut line with some pressure on his shoulders. Aiden Schweikart rolls from 12th with Bradley Setters, Michael Velasquez, Mikkel Pirinen, Metsik Klanchui, and rounding out our field of 20, Koshiro Tamai, Haruki Akazawa, Byron Pierce, and Chandramauli Anandan. Final moments before the drivers see the lights before we go racing. For Charlie Jamieson, Paul, you've already alluded to it. Some pressure on his shoulders now as he starts a bit further down through the field.
Yeah, it's all about the start now. You talked about in that European race, getting a good launch, getting the clutch bite point absolutely spot on, and getting the launch off of the line here. It's a tricky run through turn 1 into 2 on cold tyres. So you've got to be careful with that. And when you're going to have cars surrounding you, it makes it even all more difficult for Charlie Jamieson. And like I say, the last thing that he can afford to do is get himself in front of the disciplinary after this race. So he's got to keep a nose clean, but he's also got to move forward. But fortunately, his previous driver, who we've talked about as having a move of the race earlier on in these regionals, qualifies. So Charlie Jamieson knows how to move forward. He needs to pull that one out of the pocket.
Let's not forget, Charlie Jamieson is 13 years of age, Josh Zhang 14 years of age, and even Eric Shaw is only a university student. We're talking about some young competitors on their beginning of their motorsport journey, while for many, 20 pluses deep into your motorsport career. A reminder that sim racing can breathe new life into a sim racer wanting to go into real-world racing. Dane Warren rockets off the line here as the Asia-Pacific region is underway for the 5th and final time. Cooper Webbs are under all sorts of pressure as we sling it through the fast turn 1. Zach Radare-White in that Eclipse Sim Sport number 5, trying to put some pressure on. But single file, one driver sent it a bit too deep and off into the gravel. Charlie Jameson has found himself in some pain and trickling down to the tail end of the field.
And this is what happens when you're in that mid-pack. You find yourself in the wrong place at the wrong time, slide off the track with cold tyres. It all checked up because of Cody Deeth getting an awful start off the grid, and it checked people up. Jameson went for the outside line, but he got onto the dirty part of the track there and ends up all the way towards the bottom of the field.
And that's just how quickly things can change. It was 14 points the difference coming into the day. Going to be very, very different now. The legions of racers, the white and purple and multicolored entry of Michael Velasquez with Kishiro Tamai tucked in behind. But really keep your eye out for Jameson, who's getting into some trouble. That was some contact, spins the 22 of Pirinen, and they ping-pong down through Lukey Heights.
And it was Jameson involved in that again, so it's even gone from bad to worse. That's dropped him off the tail of the grid there. And when you lose the slipstream here, it is really difficult to move forward.
One thing that, Paul, those drivers may not be aware of that you and I can now say, this could be between Josh Zhang and Eric Shaw, tied on points coming into the day. Whoever finishes in front of each other could be the beneficiary of 8th position in the championship. And Josh Zhang is under pressure right now with Hudson Hughes all over his tail end. That's for 9th position. Eric Shaw is up in 6th.
I think Cody Deeth was the reason why Zhang has moved down the field slightly, lost one place from where he started. Of course, Deeth having to do that recovery. I think we've got a lot to unpack from all that first lap of the race. It was action-packed for sure, but Dane Warren at the front, half a second, he's comfortable. But it's these places here, Arjuna, this is where it matters the most for us.
6th and 9th, that's where our eyes will be locked in. Here's the start sequence, barreling into turn number 1. That's behind Charlie Jameson. And then, like I said, he just slipped off the track. He tried to go in a bit too deep, 3 wide, and unfortunately, Paul, he's put himself in that position.
Yeah, and that's then led to him later on that first lap being involved in that incident down at the hairpin after Lukey Heights. So it's so easy to get involved in from one mistake to then lead to a further mistake. Here it is, and he was trying to make the move, and well, there's an instant in front, and he's had to barrel out of it.
And a little bit clumsy rejoining the track, but that was Haruki Akazawa involved as well. So I said Mikhail Pirinen. Well, he got actually tagged by Akazawa, it would seem. 4 and a bit minutes about to be complete in this race. A bit of damage potentially showing on a couple of these cars. Zach Radare-White, who's fired off the line so well, now under pressure. He's not inside of the top 10 conversation, I would say, but Radare-White, a competitor who we've seen on RaceBot TV through the years, he missed the 2nd round in the season, and that's really what's kept him out of the fight. 5th at Adelaide, 7th last time out, and 19th at Fuji. He could have been part of that conversation.
He could well have been, absolutely. So we know he's got some speed, but Damon Woods right now, he's secure, is Damon Woods. He doesn't need to do anything rash, doesn't need to do anything silly right here. So again, we're going to see, like in that first race of this evening in the European split, you're not going to see some rash moves from some of your drivers because they know that they are safe. They are in, and they don't want to catch the attention of the race stewards.
Damon, who's qualified 4th in all races except this, where he qualified 5th, coming off 3 consecutive podiums as well. So has effectively been best of the rest for the most part, if you take Dane Warren and Cooper Webster out of the equation. Sort of the bar that the rest of the field is trying to match themselves up against. Eric Shaw is under pressure, and this is important because he's already dropped behind Cody Deeth. If he drops behind Hugo Allen as well, then Josh Zhang and Eric Shaw will be wheel to wheel for a spot in the Porsche Esports Supercup. Move to the inside from the auto moves number 4, and Hugo Allen uses the curb to rotate the car and shoots through up to 7th.
And sure enough now, Eric Shaw under pressure from Josh Zhang straight away. The two that are fighting it out to try and get into the top 8. Now, the worst thing that could happen here, Arjuna, is that the two of them collect each other and send themselves off track and down towards the rear. So, have I just given them the curse of the commentator there? We'll have to wait and see.
Some don't believe in the curse of the commentator, but we've got 2 in the booth that do believe in it. So, knocking on wood as we go. Lots of leaning there from Josh Zhang, who's also very, very active on the wheel. Karting champion, you can see trophies behind him as they sweep through the long final corner of turn 12 and back onto the Gardiner Straight. Another trip around Phillip Island complete, and so old school. This may not be a street circuit in the sense that there are walls on either side of you, but it evokes similar sort of emotions with the lack of margin for error. Grass that leads you straight into the wall if you put a foot wrong. And Zach Bradbury-White continuing to feel the heat, doing a good job. Damon Woods finding no way through.
Yeah, he's doing a good job here of holding on to that 3rd place then. And Cody Deeth, after that awful start, has got up to the rear of these drivers. So he's trying to make some moves back. I can tell you that Charlie Jameson is actually making some moves further down the field as well, and I've got a yellow flag on my mirror, and that's why. That was 15, the Tamai.
Byron Pierce, I think, involved as well in another one of the Eclipse SimSport machines. That looked like a wild ride for Pierce. Tamai back to pit lane. That leaves 19 on track, circulating. Bit of a wiggle from the right rear as it tries to protest turning in towards Lukey Heights. This is what happened. Down in towards the first of the heavy braking zones for the switchback hairpins, and Pierce tries to close the door. And then as they go 3 wide, Charlie Jameson picks their pocket. The other 2 bang into the wall.
That was never on. I'm sorry, that was never on, was that move. And the gap was not there to start with, and he thought, well, if I force the move, then there will be a gap, but that was never on at all. And the thing is, it's affected both of them. That has helped Charlie Jameson then up to 13th for him. That's good news for him. That's extra points that he maybe was thinking at the end of lap 1 that he wasn't going to have.
And I need another look at the live points, which I'm sure our production team hopefully is going to be able to send over to us, but I think Jameson's put himself back in the picture here. From being out of the conversation to back in the mix. 22 minutes left to go. He's left the fighting behind him right now. He's fully focused forward. Speaking of Michael Velasquez, next driver that slips off the track down at Miller Corner. Let's see what Jameson can do as Shaw and Zhang, 8th and 9th, are only, I say only, 8 seconds down the road. But that's not the biggest gap given what's taken place in this race. Here's what happened to Velasquez.
Yes, a forced wide going into the hairpin, had to take the escape road and gets himself back on the road. And you are correct, Arjuna, it's purple is that one. You are correct, that's a different shade of purple.
Been a couple of incidents, but still only the one car sitting in pit lane as the gaps begin to grow. Dane Warren only 6/10 clear of Cooper Webster though. Two drivers doing just about enough.
We've just had an update on the points as things stand right now. We were writing him off, but the driver in third place, Zach Rattray-White, finds himself in the 8 by, get this, 3 points. He needs to hang on to this third place like his life depends on it.
Well, the problem here, Paul, is that I don't think that we would claim that Zach's going to catch and pass Cooper Webster.
No, not at all.
I don't think are going to discount Charlie Jameson from picking up a couple of places, and every position he picks up is going to be a point. If he gets into the top 10, he's back in 8th. This is how dynamic these next 20 minutes are going to be as Charlie Jameson works forward from 13th. And Zach White defends third place with everything that he has. This is why we have live points and we don't trust the commentators' math. Thank you very much, production team.
Yes, thank you very much to our crew behind the scenes as yellow flag out there for Anandan. Unfortunately, not had a good qualifying series at all. To get to this regional part of the qualifying series took a lot for drivers to get to this part. To then compete to try and get into the top 8, to qualify for the Porsche Esports Supercup, it takes it to another level, and a few drivers have found it tough out there in these qualifiers, and but it's all good learning experience for those drivers who don't make it into the top 8 of, right, what did I do? What didn't work for me? Let's work on these aspects of my driving. And you've got a direct comparison with a former champion, the reigning defending champion in Cooper Webster and Dane Warren. You can compare yourself against us directly in the same conditions, in the same cars.
So important. And just think about the likes of Will Chadwick, how many years he had to try before he got to the World Championship. Michael Velasquez, his recovery continues. Slices through Mikel Pirinen for 15th position on track as they wind up towards Lukey Heights on their 8th lap of this race. Title line from Pirinen, the 14-year-old based out of Bangkok. And then thinks better of the move, dropping down in towards that tight, winding hairpin. This is a track where you're challenged in so many different ways. You need traction out of some of these lower speed corners, but you've got some of these medium and higher speed complexes as well to work through. And in the dirty air, Pirinen loses out slightly to Velasquez as they stretch back towards the line. And looking at lap times, stalemate for the most part right now through the top 10.
I can tell you, just to give you an update, Charlie Jamieson is about 3 seconds back from Bradley Setters. His average lap pace over 5 laps, so I've got a timing screen that gives me an average pace. Average lap time pace is a 27.2 compared to 27.6 of Setters. The problem for Jamieson is, you get to Schweikert, he's matching his pace, and those above, Hudson Hughes and above, are all going quicker on average. So it's a difficult task, but it's not impossible, especially if you've got close racing like this right now with Damon Woods and Zachary White right now.
Again, we discounted Radare White, but missing one round of the championship clearly has not been the death knell in his chances. Finished 13th in last year's FIA Formula 4 Esports Global Championship, had a best result of 3rd during that season as well. Very excited about reaching the pinnacle of sports car racing on iRacing. And why is he part of the Eclipse Sim Sport team, you may wonder? We asked that question to all of the drivers pre-season, because it's just a group of friends who happen to be fast on the sim as well. Usually a pretty good environment to go out racing in.
I'll tell you what, if he does make it into Super Cup, and that's not a given, by the way, with how Damon Woods is driving right now. He is putting the pressure on Radare White right now. But the young Kiwi behind the wheel, there you see him, triple screen setup. Oh,
He's
pretty much every... Yeah, he's made his bed, yeah, absolutely. It's good to see drivers with good discipline.
So you could tell that Paul and myself really do watch every little detail. If you give us an inch, like racing drivers with track limits, we'll take a yard when it comes to playing detective on the webcams. It's really compressed though. Xavier Kane, Cody Deeth, these are drivers though behind Radare White who are comfortable. Damon Woods is mathematically into the Porsche Esports Super Cup. He does not have to make the move for 3rd, and that maybe is to Radare White's benefit, to Charlie Jamieson, to Eric Shaw, and to Josh Zhang's detriment. About halfway through the final race in the regional championship, my fingernails are in danger.
Does Zach actually realise that he's in with a shot of getting qualification? That's a big question about all of this. I mean, he'll be just racing to drive as hard as he can to get the best result possible here. But the question is somebody, one of his team, watching this broadcast, listening to what's going on with us two wittering on, and saying, Zach, do all you can to hold on to third place, just saying.
Maybe doesn't even need to listen to us. Maybe they have done the math a bit more quickly than us on the fly with where Jameson is. Now, Jameson is starting to close, albeit slightly, on Bradley Setters. The problem is the gap between Setters and Josh Zhang and Eric Shaw is starting to grow to probably be a bit too much. So if Jameson loses any time in finding one place, that could be a chance of finding a couple more positions out of the window. But out through turn 9 once again, I love watching the cars through the bottom compress up and then grip through the long left-hander. Damon Wood's doing a good job, even in the dirty air, which there will be a bit of, running around Phillip Island through some of these medium-speed corners, doing a good job to hold on.
Like I say, it is mainly a motorbike track, so you've got these long sweeping corners that the motorbike riders really enjoy. It gives these cars a bit of a challenge, though, to be able to work really well through them. They'll be glad that it's quite cool as a track temperature, just 23 degrees Celsius track temperature, because the load that you're putting through the front right around here, you think about it, through the southern loop at turn 2, not really putting much load through Stoner Corner at turn 3, through Siberia, then up over Lucky Heights as well, you're putting a lot of force through there, and then the final 2 corners, it's all going on that front right tyre. They'll be glad that it's not in the 40s right now on track.
It would be a lot more difficult to hold on if you're burning through your 4 Michelin tires underneath you, that is for sure. Sweep out through another long sweeping corner. You can see some gravel from where drivers have been off the track and brought some of the debris back on. Radare White continuing to do just enough. And his 5th place finish at Adelaide may end up being the result that gives him this position. Every position at this point in the field inside of the top 10 is worth 2 points. And remember, it was 3 points to Charlie Jameson on the cut line last time that we looked. Out through turn 1 once again. Bit wide from Damon Woods, puts himself on the curb, but gathers back up the car.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can sort of push those limits. You don't want to ideally end up on the curb on the exit of turn 1, but it's not the end of the world if you do end up out there. So, yeah. Is it a case of that dirty air just causing grip issues on that front left?
Message in our Twitch chat, Paul. Someone saying that Damon and Zach may have shared a Porsche Cup car in the sim yesterday for a 6-hour race at this track. So they're clearly both familiar. They've done their preparation, but they're also fairly friendly with one another. Don't think we're going to see any friendly fire, as it were.
You never say never. In PESC, I've learned that. I mean, I can remember Josh Rogers and Mitchell de Jong coming together when they were 1st and 3rd in the championship at Spa-Francorchamps. So, you know, best of friends and teammates, you know, they can come together and have calamity. So never say never in PESC. That is for sure.
You said Spa. You made me think about a couple of other memories through the years. Jamie Fluke having a bit of contact up through Malmedy, was it?
Oh, that was heartbreaking for me.
Exactly, that was just rough. Also rough was it Rogers and Benica at Les Combes that one year? There's been a lot of drama at Spa. Hasn't been enough drama at Phillip Island, and this is my way of making a case for Phillip Island to be on the 2027 Porsche Esports Super Cup schedule. Please and thank you. Request from Arjuna noted into the books. Damon Woods, though, right on that gearbox. Once again, cut the tension with a knife right now as all of these drivers give everything that they have. All of the qualifying effort that they've put in through the open qualifiers and now into this regional championship. It comes down to these next 10 minutes.
Forget a knife, you could cut the tension with a cricket stump. It's that tense is this race right now. It's just you're on the edge. You're wondering, is something going to happen? Is Damon Woods going to just suddenly make a move into the hairpin out of Lucky Heights, or is he going to play it canny and play it safe and not invite any issues for him? Jameson has been closing up, by the way. He's now 1.2 seconds behind Bradley Setters, so it's only been like 0.2 of a second per lap on average for him to gain. So he needs more than that, does Charlie, to try and get it back into his own hands.
He's going to try. There's no doubt about that. Out through turns 1 and 2 again. That long radius turn 2. If this was a warm day, track temperatures rising, would have been very difficult on the right rear. It's a bit easier with these cooler conditions, you'd think. Gap opens up slightly to Xavier Kane. But as it runs right now, Warren, Webster, Woods, Allen, Kane, Deef, Hughes, and then the question on 8th position. Will it be Radare White? Will it be Jameson, Shaw, Zhang? Still very, very close between them in these closing stages. And one thing that all of these drivers are getting one more glimpse of, or one final bit of preparation for the World Championship. Depending on where you are in the country, it's anywhere from 4:30 in the morning to 7:30 in the morning. Early morning competition for those racing in the Asia-Pacific region.
And that's just if you're in Australia. Then you've got drivers in Malaysia, Thailand, you've got Japan, China is represented as well, New Zealand, who could forget New Zealand and all of that. So yeah, it's having to work those time zones as well. A lot of them will be used to it by now, but still it's not pleasant to have to wake up early in the morning, unless you are a particularly morning person. I'm neither a morning or a night person. I'm just tired all the time.
As someone who used to commentate and be a part of iRacing special events and things like the DNLS at 2 in the morning, 5 in the morning, and just coming off a weekend that I described to you, Paul, commentating on Carrera Cup Asia last weekend, early mornings are rough. I always feel for the drivers when we talk about it, because they've got to do, not just drive the race. I can wake up 5 minutes before and throw my headset on and talk until the sun comes up, but for these drivers, get into the zone, practice, warm up, and then actually jump in for the race and settle into the adrenaline afterwards that stops you from going back to sleep. It's a disruption to your weekly schedule. A little bit easier to navigate if you are maybe slightly younger and have less responsibilities than those that have graduated and now work day to day. Radare White, a bit of a bobble on that inside curb as he comes through the penultimate corner, but on to lap 17 of this race. 6.5 minutes left on the clock. And with time winding down, still in a spot to claw his way into the Porsche Esports Supercup.
Radare White just ever so slightly quicker that last lap than Damon Woods. He seems to have a little bit of a different line out of the hairpin at the bottom of Lucky Heights and running through the first of those penultimate and then last corners. So there's a little bit of different lines being taken right now between Radare White and Damon Woods. Xavier Kane and Cody Deef, they're just loitering with intent, just seeing, well, are you guys going to do something? Or are we just going to stick here? We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Shaw and Zhang, they've dropped back from this gaggle of cars, and so they're in sort of no man's land right now, trying to get whatever they can.
Feels like a bit of an inevitability for them as it settles in. And to translate your cricket stump analogy, by the way, for anyone who doesn't watch the great game of cricket, try cutting the tension with a baseball bat. Will work quite well right now as well with how tense this continues to be. 5 minutes left to go, and Dane Warren has pulled away slightly from Cooper Webster, looking good to make it 5 from 5 in this Asia-Pacific region. Radare White will cross the line about 6 seconds off the leader as well.
Do you know how much a cricket stump costs, by the way? These modern cricket stumps.
Oh, the
that
new
light
fancy
up.
ones with cameras and everything in them?
Yeah, do you know how much a single stump, not the set, just a single stump is?
If a Michelin tire costs about 1,000 of your local currency, I'm going to say a single cricket stump is $800 pounds?
30,000 Australian dollars.
Excuse me. Well, cricket, I did not realise the game that you had. Makes our tyre bill look cheap now. Goodness.
The technology that goes into them now is absolutely crazy. But yes, much like motorsport pushes the boundaries, cricket finding new boundaries in stick technology.
I'm just saying, track limits could use some of the technology that cricket maybe uses. On board with Damon Woods for maybe 3 laps to go when we hit the timing line again. It will all depend on how far in front our leader is, but this has just been a perfect drive from Radare White. Has not put a foot wrong in a race where it would have been so easy to do so. Look at the tire tracks off of that penultimate corner as they try and arc it in through the long left-hander that brings you back around to the start-finish line. Less than 4 minutes to go. Damon Woods sits behind Radare White, and with Charlie Jameson finally catching up to Bradley Setters, we're about to find out if there's some life left in his fight.
The right rear tyre of these cars will be saying that I've quite had enough now. That will be feeling very used right now, will that right rear Michelin tyre, as they go through, again, another left-hander. And that's the thing with it being an anti-clockwise track, or as they say in the across the pond, counterclockwise. Yeah, it's putting all that force through that right rear. With it being a rear-engine car as well, that's the one that takes the hammering around here. And yeah, by this point, if you've not saved your tyres, it will be screaming enough.
And remember, we have 2 different race formats when we get into the main Porsche Esports Super Cup. We get our sprint race, slightly shorter in length, and then the main race, where we invert the top 8 from the sprint race and send them out once again for the slightly longer race that more closely resembles these 30-minute races we've had in the regional championships. No question now, 2 laps to go. Penultimate time that they will cross the line in racing conditions. Charlie Jameson has passed Bradley Setters. He's up to 12, but 4 seconds back from Aiden Schweikert. He's run out of time to make some more moves.
As we're coming through the right-hander of turn 1, yeah, he's too far back. He's, 5 seconds near enough back from Schweikert right now. So, yeah, he's definitely done all that he can as Charlie. He needs issues to befall our 3rd place driver, or indeed our 8th and 9th place drivers as well, for him to get back into that top 8. Jameson, I'll tell you what though, Charlie Jameson, he is one that is to look out for in the future if he doesn't get in now.
Well, Paul, it's not done, because with that move, he is now 1 point behind Zach Radare White in the point standings. 90 seconds left on the clock. And if Radare White makes 1 mistake, 1 slip-up, game changes just like that. Final time, across the line, white flag will be in hand, and someone will be in the ear of Zach to tell him, look, no mistakes, keep it on track. And you're 1 lap away from the 2026 Porsche Esports Super Cup. Here comes Dane Warren, 1 lap away from the perfect regional championship season.
We've barely talked about him, have we? Dane Warren, he's just been running around at the front on his own by now, nearly a second and a half in front. I mean, what a performance from Dane. It has to be said, throughout the season. Perfect with pole positions, perfect with race wins coming into this week. So, yeah, it's been a tremendous effort from Dane. And he's really set a marker against our reigning defending champion in Cooper Webster.
Lots for them to have learned from those top 2 for all the other drivers. It's not over just yet. Final lap, but don't breathe. It came down to 1 single point in the Middle East and Africa's region. And there's trouble.
Jameson's been off at turn 2. He's run wide at turn 2. That's dropped him back behind Setters. That's huge in terms of the top 8.
He gave it everything. The young 13-year-old who will be back. There's no question about that. His first attempt on the road to the Porsche Esports Supercup. To come this close will sting. But the fight back next year might be all the more worth it. Are we about to get a smile on the face of Dane Warren for the first time in these regional championships? Yes, we are! 5 from 5. Dane Warren, Coanda Esports sweep the Asia-Pacific region. And next up, the big show, Cooper Webster. A season of second places for the defending champion. But we know he's waited to save the best for the big show. Here comes the rest of the field. Radare White will hold on to third. And has he done just enough? Charlie Jameson, 13th at the end of the day. And now we wait to see how the points shake up.
It's heartbreaking for the young man, but I tell you what, he can hold his head up high. He has put in a tremendous effort all season as Charlie. Some of the moves that we've seen him make have been absolutely fantastic, so definitely one to look out for in the future. But Dane Warren, what a drive for your Mobile 1 winning moment. 5 from 5.
Smiled for more than just a couple of seconds there. He enjoyed that one, I think. And I'm sure 3 weeks from today, the entirety of Coanda Esports will be locked in and ready to go. Trilux move for the race, while Charlie Jameson will take scant consolation from this. But as they fought in front of him, Byron Pierce, a little bit of argy-bargy with Kishiro Tamai, slips up the inside at Miller Corner. And a great opportunistic pass as he tried to fight his way back into the top 8.
It was 3 in 1 for Charlie Jameson was that move. Who passed Michael Velasquez and then the 2 that went off there. So, yeah, great move. Just unfortunately not enough today.
Let's take a look at our results and then catch up with a couple of these drivers. Perfect for Warren, poles and victories through the Asia-Pacific Regional Championship. While Cooper Webster, second place in all of those qualifying and race sessions as well. Zach Radare White, third at the end, might just have been enough to fight back into the 8 drivers that punched their tickets to the big show, while Damon Wood, Xavier Kane, Cody Death and Hugo Allen all finished the season off with a relatively calm race. Eric Shaw, Josh Zhang just missing out on the big show in front of Hudson Hughes, but top 10 finishes to close out their regional championships. Aiden Schweikert, Bradley Setters, Charlie Jameson, Byron Pierce, Michael Velasquez, and then Haruki Akazawa in front of Methasik Clanchery, Chandramouli Anandan, and Mikkel Pirinen. Just one DNF, unfortunately, for Kishiro Tamai, as our unofficial race results come to an end. Time for us to grab a quick breath after what was a remarkably tense 30 minutes of action. Still waiting to see if Cooper Webster, our winner's, ready to have a quick chat, but I tell you what, let's catch up with the driver that did so much today to give himself a chance, Zach Radare White with Paul Smith.
Well, Zach, welcome along to the commentary booth, and first of all, I want to say, good qualifying, 3rd place. You were able to hold on despite the pressure from Damon Woods. Are you aware that provisionally, we're waiting for things to be confirmed, provisionally you are in the 8 with that result?
No, I wasn't aware. I was kind of under the assumption that I just kind of flaked, because obviously I didn't turn up for round 2. I had a couple technical difficulties, as in slept through my alarm. So kind of embarrassing, but that did happen. No, I knew that we needed to do something this round, and through Damon's hard work, the dock felt pretty reasonable. It's still nowhere near what it needs to be, but we did all we could.
I mean, yeah, okay. We've now established as to what the issue was, so thank you for that, Zach. But, I mean, let's talk about this. Just how much of a challenge has this whole qualifying process been to come through the global qualifiers to then coming to this regional series? It steps up a gear each time, doesn't it?
Yeah, it definitely does. I think it's our pace has actually been pretty decent through all 5 rounds. It just for me, I just made it even more difficult for myself. I knew that after round 2 I couldn't make a mistake, otherwise I there was going to be no chance of me getting in. So even with the competition, it still doesn't get any easier. Like you said, it just gets even harder through every phase of the qualifying series you go through. So you can't make any mistakes, otherwise you're screwed.
Well, provisionally, as I say, you're in the 8, so we'll leave you with that and say congratulations, Zach Rattery-White. I'll get your name right eventually, by the way. Congratulations, buddy. That's a great job today.
Wait, thanks, man.
Okay, that was the driver who finished 3rd. Now let's speak to a driver who we got a smile from in the post-race. Dane, it's good to see you with a smile on your face. 5 from 5, pole position each time. You must be delighted with that.
I'm pretty happy. I mean, I can try and complain about small things here and there like I have, but I'm super happy with the results. Obviously, it's not often that you're able to take every win in a championship. So, very happy with the season.
It must be especially happy, though, because of the fact that you were doing it against the current past champion as well. To be able to okay, it was close most of races, but then towards the end of a race, you were able to just pull a gap each and every time. That must feel good for you personally, the knowing that you've got that pace behind you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, because I'm the only one from Coenda in APAC, it makes it kind of hard not having a reference or anything. So, in a weird, kind of scary way, Cooper ends up being the reference every race weekend. So, you show up and you really have no idea where you are. So it's been good to have him to kind of keep me with an idea going to the World Championship where I am. That's a positive from it.
Absolutely, and the World Championship beckons. So I suppose it's all practice now from now until 3 weeks' time.
Yeah, it's a very busy schedule. It's all coming up so quick, and hey, look, I think we got all the tools that we need to do well in the World Championship. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll have a crack, and hopefully one of us comes out on top.
Dane, congratulations. 5 from 5. Well done.
Thanks, guys.
There we go. That's our race winner, Dane Warren. And last but by no means least, Cooper Webster joins us right now. I think the important thing is you're guaranteed you're in the top 8, but just not able to get one over Dane in that final round of the championship. How do you see this qualifiers going for you?
I would have liked it to go on a bit better. I'd like to at least, feel like I had a fight with Dane. But I guess you pointed it out. The main thing is I'm in the championship and we can get on with the real thing. But it's difficult. This recent update on the car, it's made it a lot trickier to fight. It gets a bit more important to just have pace, where the previous version was a bit more slipstream, a bit more kind of promoter battling. But nonetheless, I needed to step up my game. But Dane has been very fast, so it's been tricky.
But the positives are now you're in the World Championship. You've got your teammates there as well. It must be now better that you're able to all focus your efforts on one thing rather than having to focus on Europe, on Australia. It's nice being able to focus everything now on one effort.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's torturous trying to just practice on your own. And yeah, I didn't realize how good it is to have teammates to bounce off of when testing with lap times or ideas and just be able to talk while driving. It's really valuable. So I'm looking forward to going back to that because driving on your own is not as enjoyable.
Story of my life, Cooper. But congratulations. We'll see you in 3 weeks' time.
Thank you, guys.
There we go, Arjuna. Some very happy drivers and one who didn't have a clue about how close he was in the championship.
And these are all provisional. We should just reiterate that. Not final, but I think nothing that Zach did in that race liable to warrant the eyes of race control being on him. And so unlike for Lewis Bielica, Zach can likely celebrate, although it is early on a Sunday morning, so maybe temper the celebration for a couple of hours at the very least. But how quickly, Paul, these regional championships have flown by. 5 weeks of racing, yes, split up with some of the other regions as well. And now we know the 32 names unofficially qualified in to the Porsche Esports Super Cup to begin in 3 weeks' time.
Yeah, no rest for the wicked, is there? For these drivers now, as we've spoken to, they've now all got the effort on to try and get practice in as much as possible. And we mentioned it earlier, a place where we've had plenty of drama in the Porsche Esports Super Cup. Spa-Francorchamps is the opening round of that championship. And my goodness, if you think the racing's been exciting in the regionals, wait until you see Super Cup.
It's always a treat to put 32 of the best in the world of not just iRacing, but indeed in motorsport. And the journey starts on September the 19th. So join us on Porsche's Twitch, on the iRacing Esports Network on September the 19th, 7 p.m. GMT, 3 p.m. Eastern, as the 5-race journey gets underway. But on behalf of the entire team at iRacing and our production crew, Hugo, Iku, and Rama behind the scenes, Paul Smith and myself, our junior Kanki Party, and Lewis McLeod for one round of the championship as well, bringing you all of the action. It has been a treat. Can't wait to see in 3 weeks' time who takes the next step on their journey from virtual to real as a Porsche Super Cup champion potentially. See you in a couple of weeks' time.